You are listening to NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army. Live daily on the website, on YouTube, on the AB, and on every online radio directory. NUFC Talk, the voice of the Toon Army.
Good morning. Welcome to NUFC Talk Radio. Apologies for myself being very late this morning. We should have started 13 minutes ago, but unfortunately, there was a young girl who got hit by a vehicle not far from my girl's school. So I've been stuck waiting for emergency services to attend. So apologies, one and all that's listening out there in Viewerland, as well as DAB radio across the Northeast. I am the Jury Yam Yam, and obviously I've got Super Mac Mackay alongside me again. He's been waiting in the background, in the shadows, for my return. We have
waiting impatiently.
Well, that's all right, mate. That's okay. But the trouble is, obviously, like I'm going to say to everybody that's out there that's driving, if you can, when you get the opportunity, jump on board, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. Where have you been? And obviously, enjoy the chat this morning. We'll try and get through as much as we possibly can. And like I say, if you can, smack that bell because you will get that 30-minute warning. When we go live, we're always live, never edited, as I always say. Like I say, we have got the Eddie Howe presser literally 6 or 7 minutes away. So as soon as I see that come on board, we will work the magic. I'm just hoping, like I say, we get a good feed, because sometimes my feed this side, without the mighty win by my side, I always feel a little bit tentative when it comes to stuff like this, because like I say, my internet isn't the best at the best of times, and like I say, I have to close one or two things down. So I'll do my best to give you the full content. But like I say, give us a shout in the chat if you can, just to make sure that it sounds beautiful your end. Ian, how are we this morning, mate? Apologies for being late.
All good, all good. I'm on holiday today, but I'm in the shop to do this presser unmolested by everybody else running about in my house.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. Good not being at work, isn't it? I've got the whole weekend off.
Ooh, long weekend. That's nice. That is very nice. Yeah, I must admit, I do love Friday mornings. As you say, the house is empty. The kids are at school. Everybody else is at work. I ain't starting work until around about 12 o'clock-ish today. So, yeah, you're right. It's nice. You can relax into the role. You haven't got to worry. Apart from the menagerie. So, again, apologies if you hear sounds in the background, because when you've got kittens and puppies, you can only imagine. I'd rather have kids. And that's very hard to say sometimes. But they do understand what you say when you say, shh, be quiet, you know. Unfortunately, animals don't. What are you expecting today then, Ian, from Mr. Howe? Are we expecting the norm? Just the usual go-to?
I think everyone will have moved on very quickly from Wednesday. They'll be checking there's no injuries picked up on that, because I know we got criticised for not resting everybody, but the fact is he's got to play 11 players throughout the whole match, so they all got little bits of games. Tonali maybe was on for too long. So, yeah, they'll check there's no injuries. I'm hoping we hear that Miley and Livramento are much closer. We've got the Carabao double-header out the way. We're now really focusing in on these next two home Premier League matches. 6 desperate points that we need in order to catch up, to then make any sort of run we can put together in the last part of the season meaningful. I think if we don't get these 2 wins, we're going to be too far behind even to get onto the Europa League and Conference, dare I say it. But I think 2 wins puts us right back into it. So yeah, there'll be an injury update, which I hope has some positive news. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You know, you are literally flying by the seat of your pants at times when it comes to squad depth over quality. And like I say, there has been a lot of criticism regarding the amount of time players have got. Players have had too much time. Players have had very little time. And like Eddie said, and we were mentioning it yesterday on the shows, if you haven't seen it, then go back and have a look at that. It literally is about trying to get that continuity, that way of playing, to keep it in. He made 7 changes against Karabag, and like I say, you could see the difference in sometimes how sloppy we were defensively. When they broke through, it was like, they could just one ball through, and we'd be literally looking like, tankers in the Suez Canal, as I say.
I was there, Harry. I was there, and it was really, it was started really well. It was very intense. We scored 2 goals in 5 minutes, and people just Tonali didn't, Joe Linton didn't, but then they took Joe Linton off with half
Yeah.
an hour to play. The rest of the team was kind of coasting, and I get it. Whenever I had an opportunity to coast in any match since Christmas. But yeah, when their performance and the intensity dropped right off, Karabakh actually come back into it a little bit more, and it was a really unusual match because Karabagh's first goal got a massive round of applause because it was quite a well taken goal. Got a massive round of applause all round St James's Park. At 9-1 or 8-1 or whatever the aggregate score was then, obviously we're through, so we could relax a little bit. And that, yeah, we were applauding the Karabakh supporters, which, as I said, was more like a conga line rather than a crowd. But they could be heard. They support their team incredibly.
Yeah, they were amazing, I must admit.
So that actually, it was like watching a training game, but it was all done in really good spirit. And I didn't feel I got 100 quid's worth, to be honest. But I don't think I ever was going to, was I?
No,
And
never.
it wasn't dull. It wasn't dull. We sort of kind of went into second gear and let them make a bit of a match of it in the second half. But it was interesting.
Yeah.
I would wonder if Eddie gets quizzed about whether he can play Alex Murphy, Leo Shahar a little bit in the Premier League now that he's waited and seems to have blooded them against Karabakh. That would be good for squad depth if he can do that. Maybe it's just one off because it was Karabakh. I don't know. That's the question I would ask him.
Yeah, Kev Bell has come in here. Yeah, when we were 8-1 up after 5 minutes, it will and feel unusual. Just one of those games, but wouldn't overanalyze it too much. And I think that is it. The problem is, you're never going to satisfy everybody. And I think, he's here. So Eddie Howe's in the building. So I'm going to move it across and listen to Eddie's comments, and then we'll come back to you. Enjoy.
Damien, you good? How are you? Hey. I know I've upset Martin that much he's not turned up.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We'll start with Razor, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning,
Eddie.
Razor.
Can't ask you for your reaction to the Champions League draw because it hasn't been conducted yet, but I'm sure you're looking forward to it. And it's a special thing, isn't it, to be in there again, and now down to the last 16.
Yeah, really special, really positive for us. I think just grateful we can't get Man City. So no, we're looking forward to what the draw brings, and we look forward to that game when it comes around.
Might get Man City later on in the competition again. Will you watch it or will you be training?
I think we'll be training. Yeah, so I'm sure we'll hear about it on the training ground. But yeah, preparing for tomorrow's game.
Just a couple on the match. The game the other night against Karabakh was the first of a run of home fixtures now, and after so many games away, it was 4 in a row and 7 out of 8. How nice is it to have this sequence of matches in front of your own fans again, and no travelling either?
Yeah, it's amazing to be back at home. I think we've got to build our rhythm back at St James's Park. I think it's really important we won on Tuesday night. That was our focus. It wasn't necessarily the performance that we were wanting, but it was the result we definitely needed. And hopefully now we can build some rhythm and get a good feeling back at our home ground. It's so important for us.
And how important do you see this game in isolation being? Because Everton are above you as it stands, but that would change if you were to win.
Yes, it's a big game for us. I think Everton have done really well on their travels this year. They're a really tough team to beat. From their perspective, their away form has been really good, especially defensively. They've been very, very strong. And we know historically from David's teams, they're very difficult to score against. So a difficult game for us, one we're going to have to do really well in the sense of our attacking play has to be really good. Our defensive mentality has to be improved from what it has been in recent games. I think that's going to be the big focus.
Thank you. Keith?
Hi, Eddie. You said, I think previously, that Tino Livramento should be back round about early March. Do you expect him to be involved in these next couple of games at home?
We're still in February, aren't we?
Yeah. There's only a couple of days left.
Yeah, I think Tino will be early March. We think he's still on track for that. He's done really well. He's been training now, not with us, but separately, running for a period of time. I think he's done a really good body of work behind him. So I think when he comes back, he'll be in a good place. So I don't think it's too long to wait.
And Jacob Ramsey, of course, missed the game in midweek. Is there any chance of him being back involved for tomorrow?
We hope that he will train today. So yeah, fingers crossed for tomorrow as well.
Need to ask you as well, back page of one of the national papers today linking Anthony Gordon to Arsenal in the summer, of course on the back of the Tonali stuff we all spoke about in here a couple of weeks ago. How does that make you feel? Is it unsettling for the player at this stage of the season?
Only if he reads it, I suppose. I mean, there's always, in this sort of age that we're at, there's always rumour and speculation, and yeah, I don't see probably 90% of it. I'm sure the players probably see more than I do. But I think it comes with the territory of being a top player and playing at this level, that there's going to be speculation. I think you've just got to put it out of your brain and you've got to focus on the football, because as we know with our schedule, there's so many games, there's no time for distractions. We have to be fully focused on each match.
Thanks, Eddie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy?
Well, Eddie, we talked about kind of being back at home. How nice is it to actually have the players back on the training ground for a concerted period of time, because that away run of fixtures where you've barely got any training time available, it must be beneficial for them this week.
Yes, but yeah, we haven't done a huge amount of training, to be honest. I think the squad is small at the moment, so if you look at our bench on Tuesday, we try to sort of share minutes around. So with that in mind, the training the last couple of days has been really minimal. Hopefully we'll have a good day's training today, and then we're ready to play our next game. Training has almost been parked to a degree, although we're trying to take every opportunity we can to get the players in a really good place to play each game. But a lot of tactical preparation, a lot of game plan work, that's sort of where we're going from day to day.
Every day my social media feed seems to be full of Bruno out in Brazil recovering at the moment, which puts a real positive spin, I have to say, on every single day. Couple of questions on him. How is he doing in terms of his recovery? But also, I've asked you this before, he's got through so many games for Newcastle United. How good is it for him mentally to be coming back the best version of himself with the way he's recuperating?
Yeah, I've had some good contact with Bruno. He seems very positive about his injury, how he feels. He's done a lot of work, as you say. I think he's been really well looked after as well. So credit to everyone that's doing that work with him. We hope that he can come back and really give us a push towards the back end of the season. He's such an inspirational figure for us. That could be a huge boost for us. But we have to treat his injury carefully. I think it's a serious enough one for us to know that with any muscle problem, especially the hamstring, you've got to be really careful. So I think the better he looks after himself now, the more we're going to be rewarded later in the season.
Just finally, 4 wins in 5 now. How impressed have you been with the mentality of the squad to bounce back? I know all of the talk was about the chat amongst the leadership group to the rest of the squad and everything after that difficult period, but how good has the mentality been in the last couple of weeks to bounce back like this?
Really good. I've seen a good response from everybody. Squad's come together. I think we've become closer and tighter. There's a really good feeling between the players. Sometimes that comes with a small squad, and we certainly are sort of small in numbers at the moment, but the feeling is really high. And I think the most important thing for us now is to look forward. I think I've laughed with you guys here about January being a pivotal month, then February, and now we're probably looking at March being that month. So the games get bigger, but we're excited by what's ahead.
Thank you. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
How's Louis Miley getting on? And is it still looking at March for him?
Yeah, it's we've just been advised with Louis to be really careful with this injury. It was a dead leg, so a knock, which usually with a knock of that type, it's maybe a couple of days in your back, but there was a little bit of muscle disruption. He's had a couple of injections. I think he's got one more to come, so I think we're looking at, I think I've been saying a couple of weeks for a while, but I think we're looking at a couple of weeks with Louis, because I think if we don't get the management of this injury right, it could rule him out for the season. So I think we're being careful to hopefully get him back in a good place.
And how's he kind of dealt with that? Because earlier in the season, moving to left back, to right back, doing a really good job and getting his minutes. How's he reacted to this setback?
Typical Louis. Like not a massive amount of emotion, but that's a strength. He goes about his work in a really good way. I'm sure behind the scenes he's disappointed because he was in such a good place. He was playing really well at whatever position we asked him to play, and he was integral to what we were doing. And he also gave us a lot more choice and options to play different ways. So he's been a huge miss, and we're desperate to get him back. But we have to respect the injury timescale given.
And just finally, I know we talk about the succession of pivotal months, but with this run of home games, hopefully form coming, is Champions League still a possibility, qualification top 5, or is that maybe a bit too far now?
I think anything's possible. I think, but we need to go on a great run of wins, and I think that's what we've been looking for all season in the Premier League, and we haven't been able to put that together. So I think with the other great distractions we've got going on in our season, nothing should get in the way of our Premier League focus. So I think starting tomorrow, we need to be really focused on giving our best efforts and trying to win as many games as possible.
Thank you. What's it, Damien, George and Charlie, please? Damien?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just going back to Anthony, how do you prevent this speculation developing into the kind of saga that you had with Alex Isak last season?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a lot I can do about that. I think I've not seen the story, so it's news to me, but we're mid-season. We're in the middle of some of the biggest games of his career. And who knows what's going to happen internationally with him in the summer as well. So he's got no time to look left or right. It's got to be fully focused on straight ahead and the next game and trying to be as good as he can be. I've been really impressed with him the last few weeks. I think he's been in a good place, playing in a central position. I think he's done really well, and we want him to continue that good form.
Just to flag as well, Anthony was asked the question on that and did respond to it literally a week ago, so if you want to refer to those quotes. George?
What did he say?
Your quotes are out there, I think they were published. George?
I'd echo that, Lee. It's good.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good morning. Kieran made his 150th appearance for the club the other night. He's also played 11 of the last 12 games in all competitions. I know he prides himself on his professionalism and fitness, but that's quite some workload for a 35-year-old. Can you pay tribute, please, to his ongoing influence on the pitch, in the dressing room, and what he still brings to the team?
Yeah, you can't underestimate what Kieran brings. I think we just spoke earlier about the reaction of the group in the last 5 games, and I think sort of epitomising that is Kieran's mentality, where I think after the Brentford game, if I believe, I could be mistaken on the game, but he's come out and sort of taken accountability on behalf of the players, which I think is rare in this day and age. And I think he's got those values inside of him that he has to give more, the team have to give more in any moment. But that filters through the group, and that leadership is almost a dying art in the modern game. So I pay tribute to his leadership all through his time here. He's been a really positive force for the team, for evolving, improving, and in good and bad moments being consistent. He's had a big workload in recent weeks. We've been well aware of that. We've tried to manage his minutes when we can in games, but also he's very much of the mindset that he wants the rhythm of the games. So he enjoys the games, he wants to play, and he feels he's better when he is regularly playing. So in some senses we've tried to give him that as well. But he's still an outstanding player.
Thank you. I'll go to Charlie, please.
Morning, Eddie. It's another one on Gordon, but it is match related. He's become a little bit of a pantomime villain for Everton fans in this fixture. Why do you think he's yet to perform against his former club, and how's he mentally going into this one?
Yeah, without going back over old ground, I think it's a new game. I think Anthony's been very good in this season, in particular, at sort of blanking out emotions from previous seasons and just focusing on the future. And I think that's what he'll have to do again. This is obviously a fixture that means a lot to him. You can't deny that. It's his former team who did a lot for him in his career, and I think he's very grateful for that. But of course, there's a will for him, regardless of the opponent, to do well for Newcastle and for his teammates now. So I think he's in a really good place. The last few weeks, I think he's been outstanding for us. And my wish for him is that he doesn't think too much and just carries on trying to play the same way.
Thank you. Go to Lee, Luke and Joe, please. Lee.
Yeah, Eddie, on players playing in different positions, obviously you've done it with Nick Waltamata, Joe Linton and Lewis Miley. Surely that is it's a positive thing that a player can play in more than one position. It's only going to help them further in their career.
From the player's perspective, you mean? Yeah, I think it's a great thing for everybody. For us, of course, if you've got versatile players, it gives you a lot more choice and options on how to play, especially in the midst of a situation where we've got a few injuries within the squad. It's almost imperative that we have that. From the players' perspective, I think it's great for their learning and it's potentially great for their careers. You've seen with Joe Linton in particular, changing position has transformed his career. And it's been a real positive for him. That won't always be the case with every player. And players will always have their preference on where they play. But I think we've got some great lads who are willing to play anywhere. And I think it's been beneficial for all sides at the moment. And we'll continue just to try and do what's best for the team and try and get results.
Thank you. Luke?
Does it ever feel that people are deliberately trying to destabilise your players? Because I think in the last few months we've had Livramento. I mean, my colleagues might be able to help me with the list, but Tonali, Chow, Waltamata going back to Germany, Anthony Gordon. There does seem to be a lot of speculation around your players. Why do you think that is?
Is that the end?
That's the end. I thought myself.
I don't, you tell me. I mean, do you? Because it's your.
To be a constant. It seems that Newcastle players seem to be fair game for transfer speculation, and is that a hangover from the Isak saga last summer? Do people think you're now a selling club? Why does it seem to be that your players are linked so often with moves?
Well, I was hoping that you'd answer it because it's your sort of industry that's creating those stories, and for me, it's, as I said, I am slightly secluded from it to a degree. If you don't read it, you don't know who's being linked with who. Isn't it not just part of modern day football that everyone's linked with moves these days, and not just Newcastle players, but a lot of other clubs potentially have the same issues? I don't know. I think it's irrelevant, really. I think it's how the players take to that. If the players absorb it and it affects them, then of course that's a negative. But I think they will become robust enough to ignore it and concentrate on playing. And I think these things only come into focus really when windows are open, or that's for me when the players should be, if at all, thinking about their futures. Because in the meantime, everything they do in between affects their future, and all they can do is play at their best level, and that's what I'd encourage them to do.
Thank you. Go to Joe, Craig and Kieran, please. Joe?
Hi, Eddie. A couple of years ago, Lewis Miley was thrust into the team because of injuries. You've now got a couple of players on the bench like Sean Neve and Leo Shahar. What do they have to do where, touchwood, there's not a similar injury crisis? What do they have to do to force themselves into the first team and be regular players for you?
Well, they've got a long journey ahead of them. I think I've said many times in this seat, the hardest transition is to go from academy player into the first team. It is such a difficult jump and such a big jump for all of the young lads to take. They have to work at their games. They have to improve in every moment. They can't waste a day. Sometimes that's difficult to do because there'll be very small groups training, as there has been this season. There haven't been 20 players training regularly for them to probably fully immerse themselves into that world of development through their training. It's been more individual based in smaller groups, and that places even more emphasis on their learning coming from themselves with our support. So they've got a big journey ahead of them. I think what we've tried to do is help them play as many games as they can. So when we have been able to release them to play 23s games, even at the cost of being on our bench, we think that's been really important because they need to play, and if they don't play, they won't get better. So we've tried to facilitate that, so they're still getting the game time that they need.
Thank you, Craig.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
We've spoken a lot about Nick this week in terms of the isolation of now and where it's best for him and the team to play. But looking longer term, if in theory you did have that extended run of training time with him, what would your focus be? Would it be to make him a midfielder, a number 10, a number 9? Where do you see him longer term, sort of moving the conversation on from what we've spoken about this week?
I think the focus longer term would be on, of course, his development and transitioning into the Premier League, because I still feel there's a physical adaptation that's taking place. So we would, if we had free training weeks, we'd be really pushing him physically and in the intensity of his actions. The Premier League is the quickest league in the world statistically by some distance. So I think everything then in your training has to mirror that. So I still feel there's a lot of growth in him that we haven't been able to unlock. In terms of his sort of playing style, I don't think we'd be changing that at all. We love his style. I mean, if you look at what the movie did for Jacob Murphy's chance on Tuesday was outstanding. I think only Nick could deliver that. He's put through Murph one-on-one, and that's sort of typifies his best work comes from in between the lines, in between the opponent's midfield and back four. So whether he's playing as a 9, that would be the same. Whether he's playing as a 10/8, that would be the same. So it would be a continuation of that work.
Kieran?
And just on the academy you mentioned earlier, how much progress and change have you seen since you came in, and how integral is it moving forward to, I suppose, be so joined up?
Seen a lot of change. I think, obviously I'm not party to that work every day. We're very much submersed in what we're doing here, but look at the facilities. For one, the facilities are dramatically improved, and my visits to the academy now, it's unrecognisable from the building that we first saw. So that in itself will of course help the players, and they're being now looked after, I think, much better than they were in terms of all of the off-field things and psychology, and there's an array of things now that have been improved. Of course, they've had different managers there with the 23s, which has been a sort of a little bit stop-start for them, but hopefully we can get some continuity for them in that sense. We need to expose them to the best coaching possible, because for me, I'm a big believer in the development through coaching. And then, of course, they need opportunity ultimately. But from my side, I can only give opportunities to players that I think are good enough. And it's raising the level of player is, of course, a long-term project there.
Tom?
Hi, Eddie. Given Kieran's continued importance, would your preference be to keep him beyond this season?
I think his long-term future will be something, again, that we discuss. I've said this before. But it won't be sort of one way. It'll be with Kieran. Kieran's vastly experienced. He knows what he wants as well. So we'll sit together and we'll try and come to the right conclusion for everybody.
Thank you. Gary, to finish, please.
Morning, Eddie. Just looking an hour or two in the future, obviously, with the draw. What challenge would Chelsea bring? 3 games in a week if you draw them? Or on the other hand, obviously, Barcelona, potential trip to the Nou Camp. Is that stuff what dreams are made of, isn't it, really?
Yeah, we're well aware of the Chelsea sort of strange occurrence, really. I mean, it's you could play them 3 times in a week, but I don't know. We had a great game against them here, St James's Park. We were disappointed not to win that game. I thought we were outstanding. So I really respect them, and of course they've got a new manager since that game, so a bit of change that we'd have to sort of prepare for. The Barcelona game at home, very similar. I thought we deserved more from the game. I thought we played very well. That would be a great tie too. So I think we're in a great position where whoever we get is sort of mouth-watering for us, and a great thing to look forward to.
Okay, thanks everyone. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
So there you go. Eddie Howe's presser for Everton. It seems very positive, Ian, from what I could gather there. A lot better than we've seen or heard of him over the previous weeks with his pressers. He seems a little bit more with it today. What's your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, no, I think. Well, I mean, that's what watching your team perform the way you want them to perform does for you. Away wins, noble defeat at Manchester City, where we were in that game right through to the end. We've never done that before. Yeah, he must be in quite a good place. As you say, he's looking forward to a mouth-watering last 16 tie in the Champions League. 2 home games coming up, including Man United. I keep saying on every other programme, we always beat Man United. So we'll beat them next Wednesday. So yeah, that's if he's had good news from Bruno over in Brazil. I heard one or two whispers that it was a much worse injury than we feared yesterday.
Yeah.
He's not mentioned that at all. He's always seems on top of the Lewis Miley injury, knowing the time that they've got there. Ramsey had a night off, but he's coming back. I think he scored. Tino's not far away. I think you can see that right where we need to go on this good run. One, we've started it. I think. Two, his players are robust enough to be able to play every 3 or 4 games, and he's going to have. He's had Joe Linton come back recently. He's got Miley. He's got Livramento, so that his depleted squad is filling back up again, without there being any sort of signs of excess strain on the players that are continuing to take part. We know
Yeah,
Botman's made of glass. We know Lewis
yeah.
Hall's got prone to an injury, but so far they're bearing up. So yeah, I think that's why he's positive. I think he's actually getting some good press for a change, and he's 2 home games. It's 2 more opportunities to improve that, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, let's go back to the beginning then, because obviously there was a little bit of humour right at the start, which is always nice to hear, if I'm honest with you, because like I say, he has looked a little bit under pressure in recent presses, and it was lovely to hear that he was glad not to have Manchester City again.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, that was excellent. And then obviously there was a conversation obviously about the opposition on Saturday, Everton. He says that away form is strong. We mentally need to improve at home. And I think that was a standout answer, because for me, I've questioned this season more than any season of watching Newcastle. And like I say, I've watched them for a multitude of seasons at St James's Park. We look a little bit more fragile at home this season. And like I say, I think that could be, a number of reasons, but it does seem this season more than any season, the form is more of a cup team rather than the Premier League team. And that seems to have shown its ugly head to a degree this year more than any year. Previous years, we've been knocked out of competitions pretty soon. So we've been able to concentrate primarily on the league form itself. This year, because you're involved in multiple competitions, apart from the Carabao now, but you're still head on into every competition. So the mentality has to shift somewhat. But I do think that was a really good pointer. Even he's noticed the mentality at home has to change for us to get results.
I think, it's a mentality. Is it a mentality thing, or was it just a performance thing? And we've been inconsistent throughout this season, and that's at home and away. Um, the results aren't terrible at home. The teams that we've
No.
lost to are Villa, Liverpool, Barcelona, Arsenal, Manchester City. I mean, they're the losses. We haven't lost to anybody else. So when I sat through the home defeats at Bournemouth and Fulham and West Ham and Brighton last year,
Last
I
season.
would say that we've got a stronger home form this year than we have last year. We just don't look like we're going to blow anybody away. But then, of course, is that important that we've blown teams away? It's great for us in the crowd, but as long as you're getting the results at home, that's when you need to start picking up the points away to be moving forward. And we've started doing that, fingers crossed. So, yeah, I'm not sure there's a terrible problem with headspace about playing at St James's Park. I just think it's the inconsistent performances that we've been given. And yeah, hopefully we've turned that corner. And we should see 2 heavy. If Gordon's leading the line, we'll be pressing hard. Certainly Wednesday against Man U will be under the lights, full house. I think that the crowd will be up for that, and the team will be up for it as well. So
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
see let's how it unfolds. I don't think we've got an issue at playing at home, though. To be fair.
no, I mean, you did make a good point, if I'm honest, about some of the teams that we have lost against. But like I say, there has been lesser clubs that we've also lost against, which is West Ham. And but let's
No,
just
not at
take.
home. We haven't lost to West Ham at home. I thought you were talking about the home form. I mean, we've been dreadful away from home.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
lost
yeah.
where we shouldn't have lost.
I thought wasn't the West Ham game at home? I thought that was at home. Apologies if I'm
No,
wrong.
we've only lost to some pretty good teams.
Well, let's take that then as a view. So, do you think, looking and listening to what Eddie's saying there about the mentality approach towards the bigger teams, then do you think what he's trying to aim at is we've got to not show them as much respect on the field of play when we're playing at home against the bigger sides?
Well, again, I don't know if that was the issue. Really, if you look at those losses, Liverpool scored in the 10th minute of injury time,
Mm.
and we'd come back from 2 down to be level with 10 men. That was a great performance in the second half. I don't think there was any attitude problem that night. The Arsenal game, maybe they were just so good, but again, we were holding them right through to the 6th minute of injury time. And Arsenal had a bit of a stranglehold on that game. We didn't dominate them like we normally do, but it's Arsenal. So I don't think there was that much of a headspace problem there either.
Yeah,
Villa will
yeah.
be just off it.
I was just looking down the line here. You're absolutely right, Eddie. To me, it was Brentford that I was thinking of that we lost at home, wasn't it? That was, if you look at the clubs that
Brentford,
we have lost
yeah.
to, yeah, was the lower part of it. For some unknown reason, kind of put West Ham in the chat. You say, and I'm thinking, was that at home? I've just checked now. It was the Brentford game.
The
That I was,
Brentford one was the first time really that it wasn't a Champions League team that we'd lost to.
yeah.
And I was at that game. We didn't play very well. We got back to 2-2 with 10 minutes left, and I thought we were going to go on and
We're
win
going to
it
go on and win it.
because
Yeah, I was exactly the same.
we had ground our way back into that game, but yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's an interesting look at it, mate. To be fair, because like I say, I think that is, it adds that little bit of zest. When you're looking at it from that point of view, to his conversation, because like I say, it is him now saying we can't afford to give the bigger teams the respect. We've got to still play with that mentality and approach to win. Thank you so much. Let's just throw this on the screen. Was that your start? Yes, Mr. McKay. Winning convincing at home is crucial. There you go. Thanks, was that? As always, buddy. Great supporter of.
I think he's right, and I think we will. But I do think some of our best home performances have been in defeat this year. If you look at the actual performance,
if you look, absolutely,
we were fabulous against Barcelona. Probably should have got something out of that game, as Eddie said.
Yeah.
I thought we were very good in that game.
Going on to what you was talking about regarding players coming back. I mean, Tino, they're looking at early March, which I think is great. He looks and sounded very positive with the way Tino is. Obviously, a little bit of solo work at the moment, still not trained with the squad yet, but he seems on track for an early March comeback. And like I say, that literally is around the corner, March. So
Man United
crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed. We can see Tino back within the squad. Ramsey, again, a little bit of a scare regarding his muscle injury, again, a hamstring strain. He hopes he will be seen in training today. So, again, really good, positive. Again, it's just that squad coming together. Excuse me. So that was good. But again, the one thing that got me when it comes to training was it was still minimal, was his words. Training is still minimal, but lots of tactical and technical work.
Sorry, Gary, there was some interference there. I didn't hear what you said then.
Sorry, he said that training was still minimal.
I mean, this is... Yeah, they've parked it. Parked it. I get that. And I think that's probably the right thing to do to keep the squad fit.
Yeah, it's managing minutes, mate, isn't it? And that's what we were saying. These boys have got a big turnaround between each game. So what is the way he's looking there is what we're doing is more homework within a classroom environment type of situation, tactically against the opponents. We know Eddie likes to set up individually for each opponent. He doesn't stick with the same thing. But I was going to ask you, because again, I was talking to a very good colleague of mine that I used to work with back in my days when I was coaching. Got in touch with him just to see if he'd come on board. He's still a coach at a professional level, to see if he'd give us some insight. Unfortunately, work commitments and everything else, he just doesn't have time. But I was asking for some insight into, what he believes Eddie Howe is trying to achieve within this. And he came back with quite a good reflection. And again, this is only his opinion. He says, whenever you're setting up a team to play differently against opposition, there's two ways it'll work. You'll either get a negative bounce because the lads are still trying to find their feet within that new tactical setup, or you'll get a massive positive because the opponents won't actually see that tactical shift. They won't see that tactical adjustment within your squad, and you'll get them trying to play differently to oppose that shift. And it was an interesting way of understanding it, but he was very, very adamant that sometimes it's hard to get continuity when you're constantly changing the setup.
And I mean, they do talk about it. I remember when, which game was it? When I think it was away at Karabag, when Toon Army was full of praise for Nick Voltemada playing in his new role, his midfield role, and it was after the game, it was like they'd all were aware that this was a new role and it had to work, so they had to play differently. So I do think that that is true. But yeah, but I mean it's hard, isn't it? That's why Voltemada hasn't been able to get integrated into this Newcastle side, because we've not had the time to be able to tweak the way that we play. We're improvising it. And that's why he looked isolated in those games. I mean, I think it'll be completely different next year when they've got a close season to work on it. I think I think the way forward is for him to be number 9 and for us to have a decent number 10. Whether we've got him in the squad already or not, I'd like to see Ramsey there. I think Willock could do a job at number 10 with his pace.
Yeah.
But maybe we need to go and splash out on a number 10 to work in tandem with Voltemada, supported by the fast guys running in from the wing as well. I don't know. I don't think he can play like a number 9 with us having the 3 midfielders too far away from him. He's too isolated on that, and we've seen that even Howe doesn't think that works. That's why he's converting him into a stopgap number 8 whilst Bruno's out.
Yeah, and like I say, I have been pleasantly surprised on how much we're playing through the middle now, rather than just keeping it down the width of the field, and I think that is, for me, a bonus, and it's got to be a massive pat on the back to the lads on the field of play to adjust to this new way of playing, because for so many years now, we have been very much focused on getting the ball wide. And really spreading the field of play, and more or less isolating the midfield, like you said, just as a stop. You're not getting past us through here, but when we win the ball back, we are going to go out there. And to me, you're right. I think what we've got at the moment is a transitional period where some games and some touches from Voltemada in that number 8 has been exceptional. But he does look uncomfortable at times as well. And I think, Eddie Howe did mention the fact that he's still adapting to the Premier League. He doesn't realise how quick this Premier League is. He's still got to change that mentality, that physicality to the Premier League. And again, that will come in time. And I think that is also a very good reason.
He needs to get on the same gym regime that they put Lewis Miley on. In the time Lewis Miley was out with his bad back, came back looking like Superman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Nick Voltemada needs to beef up a little bit, and then maybe he can play that number 9. And when the centre half runs up behind him to mark a touchdown, he just bounces off him instead of push him over, which is what tends to happen at the moment. So yeah, I mean, it's transitional, isn't it? It's transitional. The team have got to learn how he works. He's got to learn how the team works. Howe's probably got to tweak his tactics. He's got to consider his 4-2-3-1 lineup, I think, personally. It's not a bad thing, you know. You can switch to 5 at the back and play with the wing backs. I think he does have more than plan A. This is just a different plan they would have to have in their locker. But I think you need to work on that on the training ground to be confident that it's gonna work. I know we whistle on with Voltemada in the hope that something might come out of it in 1 or 2 games, but I mean, yeah, neither of them have had any time with anybody to have it work. So yeah, I think that Voltemada in the number 8, whilst Bruno is out, is a stopgap that is allowing us to press harder, dominate the midfield in the centre of the park a little bit more. It's turned into some away wins, so let's keep going with it. Hopefully we can get enough decent results to be into Europe again next year, whether that's Europa or Champions or the dreaded conference. And then, yeah, this summer we've got a lot to work on and a lot of new personnel to recruit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the one thing you're just talking there about Voltemada playing in that 8, I was well impressed with J7 playing that right centre midfield role. He seemed as if it had embraced him. Yeah, it's Karabag, and I know they were a lesser opposition. But I thought he enjoyed his football the other night, and it was the first time I'd actually seen J7 really angry about coming off the field of play because he was enjoying the game so much, you know. And I think when you've got that approach to a game where, you know, he was cutting through players, he was seeing angles of play much clearer. Do you think now Voltemada's in, and obviously we've got Miley out, and we know Ramsey's obviously just coming back from this slight strain in his hamstring, he will be brought back gingerly, I would imagine. Do you keep J7 in that right slot against Everton? Because I do. I'd want to see him what he can produce in that right centre midfield. Why would a little bit lax rather than Willock? You know, start him off in that right centre, Voltemada left centre, with Tonali just sitting in the hole, and see what they can bring.
I think we've got to. I agree. Whether that is the Everton game, because Everton will come trying to beat us up, won't they? With the I never know how to pronounce it, Irabunum, who is even more likely to get a yellow card than Joe Linton is in the Premier League. And the gay fella, that's his name, not you know what I mean. They're tough guys. Him, yes. I'm not sure if that suits Voltemada in the 8. I wouldn't mind Tonali with Joelinton and Ramsey. Joelinton could be on the right side with Ramsey on the left as the midfield, if Ramsey's fit enough to go.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's it.
But I think that might be Voltemada playing on the number 9, Gordon down the left.
Down the left, yeah.
The nice thing is that we have these options so that David Moyes is sitting wondering what the hell Eddie's going to pick, and he won't know until an hour before the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is this is where we were talking the other night, and we said, you know, as much as you think there was 7 changes against Karabag, but it didn't feel like it was. It didn't feel like there was that amount of changes. And I think that is, you know, testament that we are growing as a squad. And like you say, we didn't really get out of second gear. When they scored their first goal, you know, it was straight down the other end. We notched up a gear and we got another one, you know, and it was like you could see if they needed to change gears, there was that opportunity to do so. But it was interesting to hear Tonali not being happy with our second half performance. And again, you want to hear that from your players, you know, that it doesn't matter who your opponent is, we've still got to be professional. We've still got to have that mindset that we can't just relax and allow them to come and steam through us. So I class that as a positive rather than a negative. Eddie did talk about Bruno a little bit, saying about he's on track, and he's obviously his mentality out there in Brazil, he's spot on when he's, with his medical background and staff around him. We noticed him in his oxygen chamber watching the game, which was great. Sat in his little glass coffin there. Or lying in his glass coffin, I should say. So he's on track. He doesn't feel as though there's anything going to prolong his return. But he did mention that he's got to be careful. And as you rightfully said, it was a probably worse injury than we anticipated it would be. So he did say we have to be careful for his return. But they reckon it's going to be second week of April, his return. 4 out of 5 wins, which is very positive for Eddie Howe. Good feeling and all that. And he says, like I say, March looks likely for Miley. And again, we go back to, as he again said, I keep saying this is a couple of weeks away, and that's been 6 weeks now. I think Miley's been missing, or it certainly feels that way. Something that is obviously a lot worse. He's had 2 injections already. I would imagine that's steroid injections into the area. And he's got a final one today. What's your thoughts?
It's right, though, isn't it? Yeah, well, I mean, like everybody was wondering how on earth a dead leg can keep you out for back in the day for 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I think it was when you went online. You know what a researcher he is. And had a look up, and there are different degrees of dead leg.
Absolutely, yeah.
Depending on what part of the leg has been damaged, and some of them can take. Well, I think he had a third class or class 3, level 3
grade 3.
dead leg, can take up to 12 weeks to recover from, and then might require an operation to fix it, where you can be out for 12 months.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's not that, but it sounds like the muscle damage, because it's the muscles are connected to ligaments that go to the knee as well, aren't they? So it sounds like it's been there if initially it was swollen up and he couldn't straighten his leg, which I seem to remember was what the problem was when he first dropped out. So, yeah, it could be it's just in a really horrible
Geordie
position.
Dan, sorry, I didn't want to laugh over your comment there, but Geordie Dan says, yeah, he'll be back in March, but I think it's 2074. That just made me tickle a little bit. Anthony Gordon, I think this for me was the absolute pinnacle of this interview, and there was a lot of people with a lot of distaste regarding some of the questions thrown at Eddie Howe. Anthony Gordon quote out there, "Go read it," was more or less what it says from Anthony Gordon himself. Why should I repeat it? If you want that answer, go and read it, because it's already been spoken about. I think that was absolutely fantastic. And again, it just threw, a little bit back towards the journos. And I think what I also liked about that content was the fact that they were talking about the rumours of us potentially becoming a selling club. And Eddie Howe completely dissed that, because he said, well, these rumours only come from you lot. He says, it's you lot that make these stories up. He says, so I can't answer it. We have to talk about, where we are, what we're doing. And it's up to the players and the club where we take it forward. So he says, it's only you lot that are creating all these rumours. It's not me. Love it. Love it.
There was a player, by the way, who came on and looked fantastic on the left wing when he came on against Karabakh. He was trying when the rest of the team was posting for that last half hour in the Karabakh match on Wednesday. But I thought Gordon came on and looked deadly down the left-hand side once Whisper had come on. So I wouldn't mind seeing Gordon do his pressing from the left wing position. I think Barnes could do a super sub for a game or two, couldn't he?
Yeah,
to be honest.
It was. Yeah,
or he could play down the right, because I've not been that impressed with Murphy at all, or Alanga in the last couple of games. No. I think there are 1 or 2 players who are still struggling for form.
I was going to ask you that.
1 or 2 players who've played themselves into it.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that because for me, I was confused on why Eddie threw Asula on the left hand side where Harvey Barnes was playing and put Barnes on the right hand side. Is that a little I don't know insight into how he's going to set up against Everton? As you say, they've not been hitting the high notes on that right wing either player. And like I say, when Harvey Barnes come on, like I said, there was a couple of crosses that went awry. Didn't really beat the first man, but he has got the ability to play a great cross. Do you think that's an insight into this weekend's game?
For Barnes to play down the right,
Yeah,
perhaps. You'd think that he would have, if he was toying with solutions, we would have seen Alanga at some stage on Wednesday night, and he just stayed on the bench, didn't he? But yeah, I mean, it has been nearly all season where it's been Barnes and Gordon are our best two wingers, because Alanga has struggled for form. Murphy, I think, is. I wouldn't pick Murphy again. I've not seen anything this year at all. I know they say, oh, he's not been as good as how prolific he was last year. He's not even been in the same county as what he was last year.
No.
I just see so many balls being played straight to opposition or played out of play.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I don't know. Asula was dreadful on Wednesday, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely appalling.
Yeah.
I mean, I was absolutely. I realised he was playing when I checked at half time on the BBC's stats. Asula hadn't made a pass in the whole half. He'd had one header where Tonoli got the rebound and scored, but other than that, all he did was half-heartedly try and chase down players. But he didn't make a single pass, so that was completely ineffective. And then didn't get much better in the second half. And that was his big chance. I think Asula's got to be sold.
Jody Dan, boys and girls in the chat. Well, like I say, I'm trying to cover as much ground of the presser, and we've only got literally 10 minutes before we end the show. So I'm trying to get as much through. I will show a few on the screen. But Jody Dan has asked a question. Who would you prefer, Barca or Chelsea? My head says Chelsea, but my heart says Barca. I'd go for Chelsea, if I'm honest with you. I just think we saw what Barca can do on the day. And again, it depends on what Barca team turn up. But I always think you've got a good chance against Chelsea, especially when you get at them. I think they haven't got that technical gift. They're a good side, Chelsea, but they're very young. So under our intensity, they look lost. Where Barca, on the other hand, just play around us. They do enjoy the approach from players because they've got great movement and great technical ability. So for me, I'd always plump for Chelsea. What do you think, Ian?
Last night was put on the spot by Kev. I picked Chelsea as well. Then I sat and listened to Peter give his reasons why he would pick Barcelona. Thing is, really, I agree with Peter as well. And personally, I don't mind because I think we can do either of them.
Yeah.
Might be bold. I just love Chelsea would be great because we beat them 3 or 4-0 at home and the second leg's over. It's another Karabag almost.
Yeah.
Not quite as bad as Karabag. If you want to take a team on and build up a result, I don't know if anybody remembers when we got, nobody will, they're not as old as me. We got into the playoffs out of the championship at one stage and we were drawn in the semi-finals against Millwall and they beat us 4-0 at the Den.
Yeah.
That was it. Game over. Didn't matter how well we played at home. We were not going to get 4 goals back. And I think we could do that to Chelsea. But then you look at the record of the Premier League teams against European teams. We're much bigger, we're stronger, we're faster. We did look like that for an hour against Barcelona. And then Rashford's worldie turned the game around. So I think we could do Barcelona as well. We just need a PSG-type performance away from home.
Away from home, yeah.
To knock them out. I don't care. I think they both have pluses.
Absolutely. I'm going to say I'm going to fly through a few of these because, like I say, we are up against time. Trippier got some well-deserved credibility. He says he takes a lot of accountability for the team's poor performances. He says, which was, only the likes of Trippier would do stuff like that. And he was saying, because obviously there's been a lot of questions more towards the Voltemada situation, and we've already mentioned it. So again, don't want to harp on it too much. But he did allude to the J7 scenario, where J7 moved positions, and what he was looking at is he wants to do what's best for the team, not for the individual, and because he was obviously questioned whether that was going to in some way put a bit of a block on Voltemada's international contribution going forward. He doesn't want that to be a detrimental issue. So, but what he said was, I want to do what's best for the team. And if my setup tactically improves what we can do on the field of play type of situation, then weren't his words, but that's what he was aiming at, then I will have to change what we've got. And he said he's played absolutely fantastic. And the words were, only Nick could do that. And I think, like I said, sometimes, we all sit here and say, he must play there. He must. But I think sometimes you don't have to always see that, do you? And I think to try and get the best out of the team, you do have to have some adaptations at times. You do have to vary it to throw that spanner in the works.
I think Voltemada's so good technically that he can play number 8. I'm just thinking if you tried to pick Lewis Hall, who's very good technically, and told him to play number 9, you probably would get a similar sort of issues. If you do you know what I mean? It's Voltemada has got that technical ability to be able to play out of position, and I think 8 is out of position, but he does a really good impression of it when he's being asked to do that to fill in for the team. He's been asked to do that because Bruno's injured. I think Howe recognises that Bruno is the creative hub that we have, and if he's not there, we ain't got any creativity. Next best thing is to put Voltemada there because he has got the creativity. As long as we can get him the ball, as long as we can protect him enough for him to be able to use that, and the signs were quite good in those away games. But I don't think Howe is going to try and convert him into a midfield player in the way he did with Joe Linton, because I think he inherited Joe Linton as a misfiring centre forward and thought, what the hell am I going to do with him? If you remember, he cost us 40 million quid and no one would have paid 4 for him. He couldn't have got rid of him. He had to get some use out of him. And he's done it in spades by converting him into a midfielder. Genius. I don't think Voltemada's that. Voltemada's not physically or mentally the midfield destroyer that Joe Linton has turned into. I don't think that plays to Voltemada's strengths. I think he's got to stay in that maybe as a false 9, but alongside or with somebody close enough for there to be 2 of them working together up there. That's how we got to use him, I think. And fortunately, I'm not on the coaching staff, so I don't need to tell you how to do
that. Some interesting work for the under-21s. He mentioned, obviously, again, a bit of criticism why he hasn't played the youngsters. He said the under-21s, the area itself has been improved massively at the academy, and like I say, the coaches down there have done a great job. But he did say about them, obviously, to get a chance, they need to keep improving. And he says the problem with us, they're not able to train with the full squad. They're only able to train with bit parts of the squad in the very few times that they've trained together. So he does allow them go back to the under-21s to get that game under the belt and then come and sit on the bench because he doesn't want them, to be lost, if you like, just as bench warmers. He wants them still to be committed to the cause. But he did talk about having continuity at coach level because he says that is the only way that these guys will improve to anywhere near what he needs as a backup for the first team. But he did say, like I say, that the upgrades have been fantastic. But he says, I can only give an opportunity to players I believe can play. And I think that was full testament to what we've seen. And like I said, I was massively impressed with Alex Murphy. I thought he did a cracking job. And I think that's done his confidence the world of good going forward to the rest of the season. Louis Shahar didn't look too bad either, I must admit, when he
I know
came on
it was
for his
short.
cameo role.
It just to go back to Kieran Trippier though, I again dismissed Kieran Trippier. I think it was the Liverpool and Man City games where we didn't get much of a kick. And you know, he likes the rhythm of the games. He wants to play every game. And certainly his performances have improved as he's been playing every game. There's the reason why he's not being rested. There's the reason why Sahar's had no minutes. He doesn't need a rest. Trippier performs better playing every game. That's what he wants. So, for all of us who are saying, oh, why is Trippier playing? He's going to crack. He's 35. His legs have gone. Let's get Sahar on. Howe knows because he knows his squad. He knows how to manage that particular player. And I think Trippier's performances have continued to improve the more regularly he's been played. Did he say he'd started 11 of the last 12 games? I bet he was playing right back against Everton. And it'll probably start against Man United. Hopefully, we'll see Livramento take over after the last 20 minutes in that game.
Yeah, that would be great if we do.
I thought Sahar looked quite promising. He did.
Yeah, he did, and that's what I said. I understand where Eddie is coming from when he says, like, you've just got to see the right thing from the player that he's able to step up. And we all saw Louis Hall's transition into the first team from his move from Chelsea. Took him a while to bed in, and he certainly doesn't want to lose players' mentality when they come in and struggle, because sometimes, as we've seen with Elanga, Elanga's not hit the ground running at Newcastle, and he struggled, and this is a guy who's Premier proven, and he struggled. So the impact on a youth player, I say youth player as if they're kids, they're not anymore. These guys are built bigger than me. But you understand me. They haven't got that mental approach for being knocked all the time. So I understand him wanting to put a little bit of a blanket around them. But Balky said last night, the opportunity was there to give these kids a look at, to show them on the field of play against men, to see what they could achieve. And there's an argument for either side. But at the end of the day, it's Eddie Howe's choice. It's not our choice. And that's what I was trying to say. Eddie Howe's a proud man. He doesn't want to lose any game. And again, I think especially at home, if we'd have come away losing against Karabag, I think that has more of a mental effect on the players than anything. We saw the effect that it had on Tonali, where we didn't play very well. So I think, losing the game would have had a massive impact.
I think if they'd got the third goal and they'd equalised and got a draw, it's what their second half performance would have deserved. But I think that would have been a blow. As it is, it's a home win, and we can move on from it and not think too much about the last 80 minutes after we'd already blown them away in the first 10. And it's another positive result in our run of positive results. 1 defeat in 5 against Manchester City. We're in it right till the last minute, which is good news. So, despite being 18th in the form table in the Premier League, because it's all been cup games, of course, we go into Everton and Manchester United feeling that we're in a resurgent form, good form. And that Newcastle at St James's Park, when they're in good form, they should be blowing away Everton and Manchester United. So come on, lads, let's see it.
I'm just going to put this on the screen because obviously Steve still not 100% of what Shahar did. But he didn't give the ball away. He looked very versatile within what he can do. And again, didn't look under pressure. He played.
Watch his interview. Watch his interview on the Newcastle website. It'll tell you.
Yeah.
How do you think it went? Well, I got the ball. I made a few passes. He did make a few passes.
Yeah.
It was promising. We're not saying it was a man of the match performance because he was only on for 5 minutes.
5 minutes, exactly. But it's getting on, and that's what I said. It's small steps sometimes to bring out champions. I often say there's a comment that I have on my Facebook profile is the fact that champions aren't the ones that win all the time. champions come from those that get knocked down a few times and then get back up to have another go. And that's what I said. It's small steps for kids like this. It's a dog eat dog industry, football. And we've seen and we've heard from so many players that were let go last season. Some of them now are back in the 9th and 10th tier, playing non-league, football type of situation. It's a hard industry. So I understand that you're trying to protect them a little bit, but I also want to see them develop in a black and white shirt. So, like I say, you've got to be tentative, but you can't always be, thrown in the deep end. Miley was because of the situation that we found ourselves, but he's come out the other end of it. It could have gone the other way, though.
Say he's come out the other end of it. He has. However, he's a little bit injury prone. Out most a big chunk of the season with a bad back. Was that last year? The start of this year?
Yeah, that was a
start of this year with something.
Stress fracture, wasn't it? Was that
Yeah,
him or was that Burn?
No, it was him. He had a stress fracture in his back, I think.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's come out of it unscathed. He may well have been the pressure of trying to do that whilst he's also trying to grow. I think he's done a lot of work in the gym to build up on that. And of course, now we're seeing him take 6 weeks to get over a dead leg.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Fingers crossed we haven't gone to the well too quickly and too often with Lewis Miley, because he's a fabulous player. As Michael would tell you, he's my favourite player.
Well, there you go. Love it.
Well, apparently, he would say his younger brother Mason, I'm not sure how old Mason is,
no,
but his younger brother Mason, who's on Newcastle's books, is even better than he is.
That's what even Miley has said, hasn't it? He said, I've got to be careful of my younger brother because he's actually better than me. So yeah, that's one to watch. I keep having a quick look at him when he's in the team for the under 21s, under 18s. And he didn't look a bad little player when he gets the opportunity, I must admit. So well worth a watch. Ian, I am going to have to say goodbye to the chat. We have gone over 5 minutes because I was late this morning starting. So again, once, for me, it wasn't my fault. It was just stuck in traffic, and fingers crossed the young lady is okay.
Fingers crossed.
So once again, thank you to Wazat for the super chats. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Apologies. I did want to get through a lot more of them so we can have a bit of a conversation. But like I say, we have had to cut it a little bit short today. And we'll see you again later on at 4:30. The boys will be on seeing who we've got. Chelsea or Barcelona. We'd have any of them, because Eddie Howe says, on our day, we can beat anybody. Thank you ever so much, Ian. And we're the lads, lasses and bairns. Take care. Have a lovely Friday, everybody. See you on the next one.